Hi again, unlicensed thinkers. Hey, go ahead and put in the comments something that you are grateful for, and let's see if we can use the power of the internet and everything being connected and being seen by so many people to bring more of that into our lives. So give it a shot. Just down in the comments, just put something that you're grateful for. And today I want to just make a few semi-random points about jealousy, because it's sort of a weird emotion, but it's also very destructive. And it essentially comes down to saying, I don't think I'm as good as that thing over there. That's envy, jealousy, whatever you want to call it. Well, here's what I'm going to start with and this is kind of a weird statement because it's both positive and negative, especially when you think about it from not only your perspective, but from the perspective of other people. So everyone you ever meet is better than you at something. And at first that sounds like, oh man, everybody's better than me? Until you turn that around and you say, wait, that also means that I'm better at something than everybody I will ever meet or whoever meets me. And then it's like, whoa, hold on a second. That means I'm better at something than 7.5 billion people. It's not always the same thing. Like sometimes I'm better at cooking than other people. Not a lot of people, but I'm better at cooking than some people. And that is my claim to fame, shall we say, versus that person or in relation to that person. Or it could be all kinds of things. But the point is that if you think about it from that perspective, you are better at something than 7.5 billion people. And that is pretty damn amazing. So when you're having that low self-esteem that leads to jealousy and all of that, just consider that point. That you are better at something than 7.5 billion people. And that is quite an accomplishment. And so jealousy also comes down to we don't spend enough time admiring people, like especially successful people, people who have done great things for themselves. Instead, we try to diminish their accomplishment. We try to make their accomplishment sound horrible, like, oh, that rich asshole over there and whatever. But that rich asshole got to be a rich asshole because he did something for other people. He provided some kind of service or benefit. So if you admire them for their accomplishment, then you aren't making success sound like a bad thing anymore. You're making it sound like a good thing, something that's achievable for you, something that if you achieve, you are providing benefit to many people. So you don't have to be upset with them. You don't have to think of them as horrible people, as the enemy. In fact, if you think of them as friends and as something to be admired, then you can be at their level. Otherwise, you're going to block yourself from ever being successful because you say, I don't want to be like that asshole. And so don't think of it that way. Think of all of the benefits that they provide, all of the amazingly good energy that they put out into the world in order for people to want to give them money that made them successful. So another thing is, a lot of times it's like, say you're in a relationship with somebody and you have this jealousy. Well, how about just accepting that we are all different to everybody that we meet or everybody that we hang out with. So I have these different masks and personas that I put on for every person that I interact with. And I don't necessarily do it intentionally. It's just sort of what happens because we all negotiate these transactions between one another. So let's say I'm in a relationship and I act one way around my partner, but then I go to the grocery store and I behave in a different way towards a random person that I run into at the store. Could be the checker, could be some random person that I say hi to when we're talking about what pickles to get or something. I don't know. So I am a different person in those different situations. And so here's where we run into the problem. We like to be very adamant and say, no, I'm the same person all the time. I don't change. Well, that's not true. And we know that's not true. You can see it if you pay attention to it and you observe it within yourself. You can see that you indeed behave different towards different people. I will behave different when I'm talking to my dad than when I'm talking to my friend. I will behave different to the waiter. It doesn't mean I'm rude to the waiter. It just means that we have a different negotiated transaction. So a lot of times in these relationship situations, what happens is people will say, oh, well, you don't do that for me. You don't act that way around me. Well, no, but also you don't act the way you act around that other person, the way you act around your partner, if that makes sense. So it goes both ways. So your partner sees a side of you that only your partner sees. And these other people see a side of you that each of them only sees. So there's not really any jealousy there. It's sort of like, it's almost like you're a different person. You're wearing a different mask, a different persona for each person that you run into. So jealousy would come from direct one-on-one competition. And you don't really have that anywhere. So you are always unique to that person, just as everyone else they encounter is unique to, or they are unique to every person that they encounter. It's kind of a weird concept, I know, but when you accept your own masks and the fact that you put on masks around everyone and that you are a different person around each person that you encounter, then you start to appreciate that in other people, and you start to appreciate the mask that you get is probably better than the mask that other people get. So just another way to think about that whole jealousy thing. We also have, we have this sort of envy for a lot of people too. We see someone who's pretty or rich, and these are things like, say that they were just born into, right? Not because that's outside of the success thing. Like the success thing is all about that person earned that. No matter how much of a jerk they might be or how wonderful of an angel they might be, they earned that success, and that's a different thing than being born pretty or being born rich. And so these pretty people, these rich people, you know, you want to look at them and you want to say, man, their life must be so good. It must be so fantastic to be that person that attracts so many people. Well, maybe you see it different. And I looked so hard for this quote. In fact, I've looked for it a couple of times trying to find this quote. But there is a quote out there, and I can't remember who said it or exactly how it goes, but the essence of the quote is, and I want to say it was Nietzsche, but that might be wrong. So the essence of the quote is that rich people and pretty people live their whole lives being lied to, because people don't want them, they want what they have. So they, like in the case of a beautiful person, they don't necessarily want that person for who they are. They want that person because of all of the things associated with beauty, all the things that go along with beauty. They want to possess that beauty, just like with the rich person. They may not like that rich person necessarily, but they want that money. They want access to those resources that that rich person has. And so rich people and pretty people, they get lied to all the time, and they never know their value as themselves, as their true selves. So while we're looking at them and we're saying, man, it must be wonderful to have been born into that money, or to have been born so beautiful and, you know, have such amazing features, it's not necessarily great. There's a lot of things that come along with that. And I'm not saying it's bad by any means. Money itself is not bad. Money is just an energy in the universe. It flows through things. It's not just sitting in a swimming pool like Scrooge McDuck. It flows, it moves, it goes into things, out of things, through things. I mean, money is kind of like the engine it's like an engine, just like energy is an engine. So these rich people and these beautiful people, I actually kind of feel sorry for them a lot of times, because they come to think that lying is normal, because everyone wants to lie to them to get the resources that they have, the beauty or the money. And so they start to think lying is normal. And so if it's normal for these other people to do it, then it must be normal for me to do it. And so they can kind of, unfortunately, develop a strange sort of what we would call a twisted sense of morals. And I'm not saying this happens to everybody. I'm just saying that this is a potential pitfall that they have. So while we're looking up to them, this is something that they have to look out for. And they look at other people and they say, oh, it must be nice to be known specifically for your particular talent as opposed to for your beauty or your wealth. And they also run the risk of seeing people as disposable. And again, not intentionally. I don't think that this is necessarily something that's intentional, but if you're beautiful, you always have people coming to you, wanting to be your friend, wanting to associate with you. And so when you lose someone, it's not as big of a deal, shall we say, because you have this constant flow of people coming in. Whereas someone who isn't as beautiful may have a harder time attracting other people to them. So when they lose a friend or someone doesn't associate with them anymore, it can be much more painful because they don't have a replacement for it. And so to the less attractive or the poor person, a lot of times relationships hold a lot more value to them. And when other people hold more value, then you yourself hold more value. So you begin to think of yourself as more valuable, because in the case of the rich person or the beautiful person, if people are replaceable to them, then they must assume that themselves as people are also just replaceable in the eyes of other people. So they, again, not everybody, but it runs the risk of devaluing yourself. So even though you're looked at by all these people as being wonderful and amazing and desirable, you see yourself as less valuable because unintentionally you see others as less valuable. You see others as replaceable. You see just this constant flow of people in. So when one leaves, you hardly even notice. And then you start to feel that you must feel that way, or others must feel that way in relation to you. Probably not the truth. You're probably very valuable to someone if you happen to be a rich and or beautiful person. We appreciate you very much. It doesn't make you a bad person. I'm just saying that these are pitfalls that when we look at other people, these are things that we forget to see. We forget that we can admire successful people, and that allows us to come up to where they are, to do the things that need to be done, such as when I get jealous of someone who has created a big business, or when I go to the gym and I see somebody who's just a freaking tank of a man. I can be jealous of them and I can be angry at them, or I can use that admiration that I have for the work that they put into their business and the work that they put into building all of that muscle. I can have an admiration for that. And when I have an admiration for it, then it becomes something that it's okay for me to want, for me to achieve. But if I have a hatred for it and I have jealousy towards it, then it becomes something that's cut off to me. There's a wall. There's a wall in my mind that says, don't do that. Don't put on that much muscle. Don't be a successful author. Don't do that, because I look at these other people and I say, oh, well, that jerk over there, and I don't want to be one of those jerks, right? So when I look at them and I admire them, and I'm an author, so if I admire other authors and I say, that's fantastic what they've done, the audience that they've been able to build, that's amazing. I love them for what they've done, for showing me that it's possible to do that. I appreciate them. When I come at it from that perspective, there isn't that wall. And when I realize that I'm better at something than 7.5 billion people out there, that's a lot of people, by the way, 7.5 billion with a B people, I'm better at something than all of them. That is freaking amazing. I don't need to be jealous of them, because sure, they might be better than me at this thing, but I'm better than them at this other thing, so it all kind of evens out, right? And then again, not putting these wealthy and these beautiful people up on a pedestal, because to them, they are not on a pedestal. To them, they are living I don't want to say a less wonderful life. They are living a different experience than we are. And Then of course, the other point of remembering that you are wearing a mask for each person that you encounter, for everyone. The transaction between you is something that you and that person have negotiated, and it's going to be different for each and every person that you encounter. Just accept that. Accept that you are a different person in different scenarios with different people. You are many people. You are many people to everyone. In fact, every person that you ever meet thinks you're a different person. And so if you were to combine all of those, the people that you walk past, the people that know you, the people that are your friends, your image of yourself, if you combine all of those images, you still wouldn't have any idea who the real you is. So remember, there's no need to be jealous. We are all just having these different experiences in life, and we're having these different interactions with each other, and we're all just literally different people. You can't compare an orange to an apple. I know that's an old trope, but once you realize all of these things, jealousy really becomes a thing of the past, and turn it into admiration. So if your partner likes somebody else for a particular aspect of them, allow your partner to enjoy that aspect of that person. And you can even look at it as an admirable thing. But always remember, you have something they don't. And so then the jealousy just goes away. They're just a different person. They're just another person. Now, if your partner's cheating on you and all that kind of stuff, deal with that however you deal with it. I could probably make a video on that, but not going to talk about it right here. Probably don't date that person anymore. Show some respect for yourself. All right. Remember, down in the comments, leave something that you are grateful for, and we're going to see if we can't use the power of the internet and just everything being so interconnected there to try and increase those wonderful things in our lives. So be sure to share the video and hit like.